Welcome to Mr. Marr's Lockdown History. Quick 2-minute summaries about a range of different history topics. Today we're looking at a sad event from Scottish history known as the Highland Clearances. The Highland Clearances took place in the 1700s and 1800s in the Highlands area of Scotland. Before we look at the clearances themselves, let's look at some background and consider what life was like in the Highlands at this time. For the vast majority of people, life was one of extreme poverty. The overwhelming majority of people made their living from the land, working on farms or looking after animals, although some worked as fishermen depending on where they lived. The poverty they faced was extreme. They had minimal healthcare, they often didn't have enough to eat, and their standard of housing could be poor. Black houses were one-roomed homes which were in fact often shared in part with animals. One devastating event took place in the 1800s, which was a potato famine which left huge numbers of people without enough to eat. As a result of this extreme poverty, the people who lived in the Highlands often couldn't afford to pay much in the way of rent. As a result of this led to the clearances. The landlords of the Highlands decided that the minimal rent that they got from their tenants, and often didn't get this at all, was something they could earn much more for by doing something different. Animals were what they turned to. Sheep farming was a particular way of making more money, but also many wanted the land to set up hunting estates for things like deer and grouse. The question was how to remove the Highlanders from their homes. Sometimes this was done on a peaceful voluntary basis, perhaps by paying or persuading the Highlanders to move elsewhere in Scotland or abroad, but other times it turned violent. People were violently removed from their homes, the homes themselves were burned down, and on occasions they were even forcibly put on ships, with the next stop being somewhere across the Atlantic in the Americas. Unsurprisingly, this was not well received, and there were often riots took place as the Highlanders fought back against the people that would try and remove them and their families from their homes. Ultimately, though, this was not something that stopped the clearances. The clearances to a point did come to an end with what was known as the Crofters Holding Act, and this gave the crofters and the farmers more rights to stay. The reality was, though, that for many people, the economic devastation that being forced to endure had meant that they had to leave, and there was little to stay for in the Highlands. Many of those Highlanders moved all across the world, and to this day there are still monuments and statues to be found in places such as New Zealand, Australia and Canada that mark the memory of the Highland Clearances.